Right? Picture this. You're scrolling through Rightmove, dreaming of that perfect London flat, and suddenly you see a price tag that makes your morning coffee taste like bankruptcy. £500,000 for what's essentially a glorified cupboard with a window. Welcome to London 2025, where even the mice are considering shared accommodation. But hold on to your overpriced lattes, because the Conservatives reckon they cracked the code on who's to blame for this housing hellscape. And spoiler alert, it's not the weather this time. The Tories have rolled out their calculators, sharpened their accusatory fingers, and pointed them squarely at Sadiq Khan and Labour's immigration policies. They are claiming that what they call Labour's open-door immigration policy is literally eating London's housing stock for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And apparently, it's got quite the appetite because according to their number-crunching wizardry, London is staring down the barrel of a 207,900 home shortfall by 2030. That's not just a housing crisis, folks. That's a housing apocalypse with a side order of good luck finding anywhere to live. Now, before we dive headfirst into this political punch-up, let's talk numbers that'll make your wallet weep. The average London property hit £539,914 last month. Yes, you heard that right, over £500,000 for your average London gaff. Meanwhile, the rest of the country is sitting pretty at £298,237. That's like comparing a luxury yacht to a decent second-hand car. Londoners aren't just paying more for housing. They are practically funding a small nation's GDP just to have a roof over their heads. But here's where it gets spicy. The Conservative analysis, and yes, we should probably take their analysis with a grain of salt the size of Big Ben, claims that immigration alone will gobble up 68,700 new homes in London every year. To put that in perspective, that's like needing to build a new town the size of Crawley annually just to keep up with immigration demand. Oxford University's Migration Observatory backed up part of this story last year, revealing that London has become Britain's Ellis Island, with over 40% of residents born abroad. That's not necessarily a problem, but it does paint a picture of a city that's basically the UK's answer to the United Nations. Enter stage left. Shadow Home Secretary Philp, wielding statistics like a man possessed and delivering sound bites with the precision of political sniper. Philp didn't mince words when he declared that Labour had turned London's housing crisis into a housing catastrophe. Ouch! That's like saying someone turned a stub toe into a broken leg. He painted a picture of London as a pressure cooker where British families are getting squeezed out faster than toothpaste from a tube. It's dramatic, it's punchy, and it's exactly the kind of rhetoric that gets people talking, which, let's face it, is probably the point. But wait, there's always a but in politics. Team Khan wasn't having any of this narrative. A spokesperson for the London mayor came out swinging harder than a pendulum in Big Ben, basically calling the Conservative claims complete tosh. They fired back with their own arsenal of statistics, claiming Sadiq has completed more new homes than any time since the 1930s and started more council homes than any time since the 1970s. That's quite the historical comparison. We're talking about housing achievements that would make post-war Britain proud. The Khan camp didn't stop there, though. They threw in a curveball that would make even the most seasoned political observer do a double-take. Apparently, Khan is actively exploring releasing parts of London's green belt for development. Now, that's like saying you're considering selling the family silver to pay the mortgage. It's serious business. The green belt has been more sacred than Sunday roast in British planning policy, so even mentioning its potential sacrifice shows just how desperate the housing situation has become. Meanwhile, Labour's national spokesperson decided to turn the tables with all the subtlety of a brick through a window. They accuse the Conservatives of having some brass neck, which, in polite British terms, translates to, "You've got some bloody cheek." They reminded everyone that it was actually the Tories who presided over immigration hitting nearly 1 million, a number so big it makes your head spin faster than a London iPod. Philp, they pointed out, was immigration minister when those dangerous small boat crossings were making headlines daily. Talk about throwing stones from glass houses. The Labour response painted a picture of Conservative housing policy that was about as effective as a chocolate teapot. They accused the Tories of creating the worst housing crisis in living memory by scrapping targets and basically torpedoing housing supply. It's like being accused of starting a fire by the person who was playing with matches for the past decade. But the Conservatives weren't done. Oh no, They had one more rhetorical rocket to launch. Their final salvo was a masterpiece of political theatre. This is Labour's Britain. Build nothing, plan nothing, flood the system, and then act surprised when it buckles. It reads like a manifesto written by someone who's had quite enough of everything. Thank you very much. They painted a picture of Londoners being priced out, pushed aside, and packed into showbox flats while the government lays out the welcome mat for immigrants. Now, let's step back from this political WWE match for a moment and look at what's really happening here. London's housing crisis isn't exactly breaking news. It's been building like a slow-motion train wreck for decades. The city has been a victim of its own success, attracting people, businesses, and investment faster than it can build homes. It's like trying to fill a bathtub with the plug pulled out. You can pour water in as fast as you like, but you're always going to be playing catch-up. The immigration factor is real. You can't have 40% of your population born abroad without that impacting housing demand. But here's the thing about immigration. It's not just about people needing somewhere to live. These aren't just bodies taking up space. They're doctors, teachers, tech workers, entrepreneurs, and coffee shop owners who keep London's economy buzzing like a caffeinated bee. The question isn't whether immigration affects housing demand. Of course it does. The question is whether the solution is to slam the door shut or build more houses. And that's where this whole debate gets really interesting, because both sides are dancing around the elephant in the room. Britain has been chronically underbuilding homes for decades. We're like a person who's been on a diet of one meal a day wondering why they're always hungry. The National Audit Office has been banging on about housing supply for years, pointing out that we need between 250,000 and 300,000 new homes annually across England just to meet demand. London alone needs about 50,000 new homes per year, but has rarely hit that target. The planning system in this country is more tangled than iPhone cables left in a pocket for 5 minutes. Getting planning permission for a garden shed can take longer than some people's marriages last. Meanwhile, developers sit on land banks like dragons hoarding gold, waiting for values to rise while families struggle to find anywhere affordable to live. Here's the really mad part. We know how to build houses. We built millions after World War II when the country was practically broke, and most of our cities look like they've been hit by, well, bombs. Today, with all our technology, expertise, and resources, we seem incapable of building enough homes for our own people. It's like forgetting how to ride a bike, except the bike is shelter, and forgetting how to do it leaves people homeless. The green belt issue that Khan mentioned is particularly thorny. Originally designed to prevent urban sprawl and preserve countryside, it's become something of a sacred cow in British politics. But when you've got families living in converted shipping containers while perfectly good land sits empty just because it's painted green on a map, you've got to wonder if the policy has outlived its usefulness. It's like having a beautiful garden that you're not allowed to use while your house falls down around you. What's really happening here is a classic case of political hot potato. The Conservatives want to blame Labour and immigration. Labour wants to blame the Conservatives and their legacy. And meanwhile, ordinary Londoners are stuck paying mortgage payments that would make a Saudi oil sheikh wince. Everyone pointing fingers while the problem gets worse, like passengers arguing about whose fault it is while the ship slowly sinks. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, wrapped in layers of complexity that don't fit neatly into a political soundbite. Yes, immigration increases housing demand. That's just math. Yes, successive governments have failed to build enough homes. That's just history. Yes, the planning system is slower than a Sunday afternoon in Surrey. That's just frustrating reality. But here's what's really bonkers about this whole situation. London is one of the world's great cities, a place that attracts talent, investment, and opportunity from across the globe. That should be something to celebrate, not apologize for. The problem isn't that people want to live here. The problem is that we haven't figured out how to accommodate them without turning housing into a luxury item that only oligarchs and hedge fund managers can afford. So while politicians trade insults like school children in a playground, London continues to price out teachers, nurses, firefighters, and all the other people who actually make the city work. We created a system where the people who serve your coffee, teach your children, and keep you safe can't afford to live in the same city where they work. That's not just economically stupid, it's morally questionable. The Conservative prediction of a 207,900 home shortfall by 2030 might be politically motivated, but it's probably not far from the truth. London's population continues to grow, housing supply continues to lag, and prices continue to climb like they are trying to reach the International Space Station. Unless someone, whether it's Khan, the government, or a housing fairy with a magic wand, figures out how to dramatically increase supply, we're heading for a crisis that will make today's problems look like a minor hiccup. What London really needs isn't more political point scoring, but a proper grown-up conversation about how to house everyone who want to contribute to this amazing, chaotic, expensive, wonderful city. That means building more homes, yes, but also building the right kind of homes in the right places with the right infrastructure. It means accepting that some things we held sacred, like never touching the green belt, might need to be reconsidered. It means politicians from all parties putting down their weapons and actually working together on solutions rather than just scoring points. Because at the end of the day, while Sadiq Khan and Conservatives argue about who's to blame for London's housing crisis, millions of Londoners are still checking their bank balances, looking at property prices, and wondering if they'll ever be able to afford more than a cupboard with delusions of grandeur. Thanks for watching UK Pancakes today. If this deep dive into London's housing madness got your blood pumping faster than a property price rise, smash that like button, subscribe for more political chaos analysis, and drop a comment telling us what you think about London's housing crisis. Are the Conservatives right to blame immigration, or is Labour right to point fingers at Tory housing policy? Let us know what you think. And we'll see you in the next one, where we'll probably be discussing another political controversy that makes your morning commute look peaceful by comparison.